Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark. I hope you all are having a fantastic day or evening. In today's story, OP found out his girlfriend cheated on him with her boss right after he proposed to her. Now, let's get into today's story to find out what happened. I, 29 male, met my girlfriend Diana, 27, while we were in college. She was the shy, I don't socialize type during the early periods of college. But over the years, her mindset changed. Diana and I were close friends. I could rely on her for anything and vice versa. I ended up falling head over heels for her, and it turned out she felt the same way too. It wasn't a competition, but I'd say we were the best couple in school. She really meant the world to me. After college, Diana and I moved in together to try to take our relationship to the next level. We've been together for 7 years, and we weren't married, but it felt like we were. Of course, I knew I was going to propose someday, and it was only a matter of time. But I was waiting for the perfect time because I wanted it to be the most memorable day of our lives. And just like that, an opportunity presented itself. Diana's elder brother was having his wedding in a few months, and I felt that would be the perfect time to propose to her if her brother and wife-to-be okayed it. And they did, and were really happy about the surprise event. So, a few days before the wedding, we flew down to San Francisco, where the wedding was to be held. Finally, it was time. Everything was set. The ceremony was held, and the reception began. As planned, I proposed to Diana amidst cheers from the crowd. It was such a joyful moment, and Diana was crying, and her family was emotional. Later on, we were all having a blast, and Diana had disappeared off to somewhere when suddenly Diana's phone buzzed on the table in front of me. I peeked at it, and it had a text from Amy saying, "I miss you." I felt that it was all good. Girls are always close like that. Then another text came and said, "I want mine in you so badly." It's like my world had stopped in its orbit. I felt everything around me slow down, and for a moment, my world tilted. I was sweating buckets, and I didn't know what to do. I took her phone and went into the bathroom. I went through every nook and cranny of the phone and was stunned. She was screwing another guy, and it wasn't just any other guy, but it was her boss. Her boss was twice her age and married with kids. They had been having a physical affair for a few months. There was also a lot of emotional stuff, and I love yous exchanged every day. I was a wreck at this point, and I was pulling my hair and banging my head against the wall. I just effing proposed to this train wreck of a woman in front of all her family. What friggin' joke. I'm not proud of what I did next. I took screenshots of some of their most graphic chats, where they reminisced about the various sex acts they performed on each other, and uploaded them to her family group chat, work group chat, and even school and college group chats on WhatsApp. Then I dumped the phone, got into my car, and left the reception without a word to anyone. I was broken emotionally and couldn't even think properly. I kept imagining all the things she could have done with the guy in bed. The more I thought about it, I felt like turning the car around and taking her life. 15 minutes later, her brother called, asking where I was and what I did. That his wedding was in shambles, because all his family and friends had seen the chats. His parents, aunts, and his very senior grandma were making such a fuss and screaming profanities at Diana, who had locked herself up in the bride's dressing room to escape them. Especially her mom, who had started beating her with her clutch. His bride was very stressed, and her side of the family was trying to calm down the situation and prevent his mom and grandma from killing Diana. He was pissed at me and started cussing me out, to which I just hung up. I was completely drained. I drove back home crying. Diana FaceTimed with me that night. Her eyes were swollen from crying, one side more than the other, looking suspiciously like it had taken a beating. She explained what happened afterward. Her SIL side of the family peeled her mom away from the bride's room door and took her away so she could sneak out and get away with a friend of hers. It's where she's at now. She didn't try to deflect blame but owned up to her misdeed. She said she didn't know why she started an affair because her life was perfect as it was. She's now lost most of everything she had in life within a few hours. Her family hates her, her SIL is murderous, and her friends won't return her calls. She and her boss are both in hot water and will likely lose their jobs soon. She also said she understood why I did what I did and that she was a horrible human being who deserved all of this. I've since blocked her and her family on every platform. I've packed my stuff up and will soon be moving out. There are 2 more months of the lease and I'll be paying it, though I won't live here. I don't know what will happen to her, but I'm ready to move on. I've wasted enough of my time with this woman already. OP, I'm sorry about everything you're going through, but I'm also glad you found out about it when you did. It would have been a train wreck if you had actually gone through with the marriage before finding out. I understand why her brother got mad at you. You did ruin their night and maybe even their wedding, but I also understand why you did that. Some part of you wanted revenge and the other part of you wanted her family to know why you'll be ending the engagement. Your ex deserved everything that happened to her that night because I'm certain she would have kept you in the dark and continued to cheat on you while you act like a dutiful fiancé who knows nothing. But at least she owned up to everything instead of trying to manipulate you or make you feel bad like most cheaters do. Move on with your life and say goodbye to this phase. I'm sure the next phase will be much better. Take care, OP. Now let's get into today's second story. I, 29 male, have been planning on proposing to my girlfriend, 28, of 6 years. We met in college and quickly hit it off, began dating, and eventually decided we wanted to be together. Our life together has been amazing, and I haven't had an issue, at least in my eyes. We've always been open and are always communicating with each other. She moved in with me 2 years ago, since it had been going wonderfully, and because I knew I wanted to be with her, I decided it was time to propose. She had also been hinting about wanting to become engaged. Anytime we passed by a jewelry store, she pointed out how beautiful the X-ring is. I always brushed it off because I didn't want her to know I was ready too. Around the time we moved in together, she got a promotion, but it meant her work hours would increase. I was fine with that since I work long days as well. She went on vacation with her friends one weekend, and I felt it was appropriate to buy a ring. I found a ring that I knew she would love and spent a decent amount on it. I never thought I would be that person to drop 15 on a ring, but she's worth it, or so I thought. She recently started working a lot more hours than usual, so she started getting hotel rooms close to her work. She would come home on a lunch break and pack an overnight bag, followed along with, "It's going to be one of those days." I never had a reason not to trust her, but looking at it now, this was a red flag. This has been going on for 4 or a few months now. I started looking at the time to make the big proposal. She's honestly a very luxurious person, so I felt it was appropriate to find somewhere very nice. I booked a dinner at a very well-rated restaurant and booked a private event on the beach of a hotel. I've told all of our family and friends that this is a surprise party to congratulate our engagement. Today, I stayed home from work since I felt like I was coming down with the flu. She left her laptop open, and I kept hearing message notifications going off. It was starting to get annoying, so I went to turn off her computer. I know I shouldn't have snooped, but I'm glad I did. She left her Facebook messages open. She has several messages from older guys. A lot of flirty messages, plans with these men, and nude photos. I read through some messages but couldn't read them all. I was sick to my stomach. These messages date back as far as 3 years ago. This was an entirely different Facebook too. This was an account for her to talk to these men. She blocked me so I could never find this account. I went looking through her email too. I found emails from a sugar baby website. I clicked on a link that brought me to her profile, which has been active and updated. Also, that girl's vacation was actually a getaway with her sugar daddy. After snooping for enough information, it turns out she had quit her job around the time we moved in together and has been seeing 2 different men in particular and going back and forth between their houses. I feel like such an idiot. I wish I would have noticed the red flags. When she started coming home with nice things, I assumed it was from her promotion. I don't understand why she feels the need to be paid by these men. She makes a decent income. We both do. I'm completely shocked and hurt. I don't know how to proceed or what's the right thing to do. I know I'm gonna break up with her. But how? How do I tell her? How do I get her out of my house? How do I tell her friends and family our surprise party is off? I just don't know. OP, you should definitely leave her. She betrayed your trust in one of the worst ways imaginable. Keep it simple, don't overthink it. Just tell her, I want to break up, engagement is canceled. Tell your friends and family we're calling off everything because she's cheating on you. They will understand you. If possible, keep the details of the infidelity to yourself for the time being. If the house is yours, just kick her out. If you're kind enough, just give her a day to find somewhere to move. She is a prostitute. What she did is not a forgivable thing. Refund your ring, try and get her to leave the home, and work on yourself for a while. She's going to want you to forgive her for lying, and it'll be tempting, but you can't. This lie is just too big to get past. Gotta move on and rebuild. If she tries to be cute, you have to just remind yourself how deceitful she was and how much she's hurt you. You are going to have a wonderful life ahead of you. I'm so very sorry you've had to go through such a harsh experience. I hope your heart heals quickly and you're able to find a loving, committed, honest, and kind partner. This is just the beginning of a new adventure for you. Now for today's final story. I just found it out last night that my wife of 1.5 years cheated on me 3 years ago while on a work trip with a colleague. His wife informed me, and I asked my wife, and she broke down but didn't deny it. It was during a work trip. She was drinking with her colleagues and woke up in a colleague's bed. She said it was one of the worst moments of her life, but she didn't tell me out of fear that it would lead to the end of our relationship. Instead, she decided to stop drinking and have better boundaries. Now I knew she stopped drinking around 3 years ago, but didn't know the exact reason. Later, she started therapy, and apparently, her therapist also told her that since it was a one-time thing, and she was also making changes to make sure it never happens again, then it wouldn't serve any purpose to tell me. On the contrary, it would just cause trauma to me. Now I am 90% sure she hasn't cheated in the past 3 years, as she mostly works from home, and there have been no red flags in her behavior that I can recall. But of course, I can't be sure of it. Hell, it feels like I can't be sure of anything now. I have shifted to the guest room for now, but I am really confused about what steps I should take. My marriage has been a very happy one till yesterday, so it's even more confusing. Is divorce the only way? OP, it doesn't sound like there were any red flags when she had her first affair. You're correct that you can't be sure of anything right now. Don't allow her to minimize this because it was so long ago. This might be the case for her, but for you, this is all happening now, not 3 years in the past. You have to deal with the trauma and hurt today. While for her, she likely thinks it's all ancient history that can be rug swept. She might not like it, but she has a lot of work to do if you give her the gift of an opportunity to fix this. If she refuses to face it or discuss it, you should just walk. I'm not sure I'd be so generous, however. You don't really know what happened 3 years ago. You don't know the extent of it or the reality of how deep their relationship went. You don't really know it was only one time. You don't really know if they've had contact since then or are still in contact now. I wish you the best of luck, OP. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care, everyone.